obviously I know you're not feeling great. So I ask you, hey, how are you feeling? Are you okay? What was your response to me?
I don't know.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book 91. Little Black Book, you know what time it is. We're talking to you guys obviously about Chelsea and Kwame really, really quickly in episode 9. It's been crazy because I think just watching them through episode 9, I think I watched a little bit of 10 really briefly, but I won't bring anything from 10. I want to focus on 9 solely and the past episodes gone. It may sound wild to you, but I think this theory has some validity to it. And I'll show the clips from episode 9 to prove what I'm saying. But I really do believe there's some passive aggressive, if you want to call it covert control from uh from uh from Chelsea. She's not overt with her controlling behavior, okay, but it's covert. And the use of fear, guilt, and shame are some of those aspects that can be used to tie people up and manipulate them and to control them in a sense, right? I think she's a little bit more she's way more assertive than Kwame, and that comes across and that plays a part. And I think he's starting to realize that because the constant comments about I'm sacrificing everything, but she's not sacrificing anything is quite revealing in itself. And it's revealing not only about Chelsea, but about Kwame too. Why are you willing to accept a position where you're saying every single time to us, you're having to sacrifice everything and she's not sacrificing anything at all? Why do you find yourself in that scenario, in that situation? He has to ask that real tough question to himself. So we're going to break this down, and hopefully you're going to see what we're saying. Follow us through, watch a little bit more of this, and we're gonna give you some answers, hopefully. So if you're new to the channel, like it, share, subscribe. Click on the bell button for notification of the what? Uploads, and make sure you click on that black button when you click on the bell, so it tells you that you're going to be signed up to all notifications, so you don't miss when we go live. We are going live on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, talking about Love Is Blind, episode 8, 9, and 10. On Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So just kind of make sure you subscribe to all notifications as well. All right. But let's get into this conversation. Let's have a real conversation here. Now, previously before this point, and I'll play a clip a little bit later on, Kwame actually gives us a narration about how he, this morning, said to her, how are you feeling? And she gave a response that was really hurtful to him. Now, what was really interesting is how he said about he felt like he was a bad person by the way that Chelsea responded. And I think this is key information. So breaking it down from his perspective first, it's key information because why did he link how she treated him to him being a bad person? When people link behaviors to their personhood, often it exposes fragile ego. And fragile ego is often created when there has been a bashing or trauma, or there's been constant criticism, harsh behaviors from their childhood. And we much are aware of some of Kwame's childhood when he talks about his mother and talks about how even now how she's reacting to him, and the fact that he's now only just kind of making his own decisions, even about this relationship aspect. So clearly there might have been some control or some behavior which was unbecoming, maybe hurtful, harsh in the past. We also know that he experienced at the hand of white people rejection in terms of identity and being allowed to be a part of the group. When he gives us that example of taking his white girlfriend to prom and he can't do it, etc., right? So there is attacks on his childhood in terms of his ego. And so when that becomes fragile in that space, you start equating when people criticize you or when people hurt you, you link it to your personhood rather than the actual behavior of you. You should separate the two. The personhood isn't the behavior. I mean, of course, the person is doing the behavior, but we separate the two. And I think the psychology of that is so beautiful because it does remind me of the gospel. God, thank you so much. As to why I think God is able to really see us in a different light. Because oftentimes we see the personhood and we see the behavior and we put it together and say, well, to save ourselves and to protect ourselves, we've got to say the person and the behavior, they're a bad person. When really it should be your behavior is bad. But as human beings, to save ourselves and to protect ourselves, we will say that's a bad person. because what we want to do is make sure we warn others about this particular person. We label it to also to give it a title, and to also make us aware of the threat, right? But in how we look at things like this, when it comes to relationships, you have to separate the personhood from the behavior. This is key. Man, it's gonna have to be its own separate video. I said I was gonna talk about Chelsea and being passive aggressive, but I've started going down the psychological route. Okay, might have to do a part 2. So I'll definitely do a part 2 on this, because I think I'm going deep, and I wanna stay on this course to break some things down. So let's go to that clip, hopefully, and let me get that clip so you can understand where I'm coming from when I talk about when he was explaining the story about the personhood.
For as much as you like clothes,
the biker shorts she should do.
yeah, definitely.
Perfect.
Okay.
When we woke up this morning, first thing that I said.
All right, cool. So we're now at a part. He's going to explain the story. He's going to break it down. He's going to let us know how he feels about it. And if I'm correct in my remembrance, he does say about him being feeling like he's a bad person per se, as well. So, but let's get into the copyright stuff. You can't do much. You know what I mean? They're gonna get you. You know what I mean? But let's play it a bit.
Chelsea was, "Hey, are you okay? How you doing?" And her response to me was, "Do I sound okay, or do I look okay?" Almost in a really confrontational way. And it kind of hit me in a weird way, because that is something that she's done a couple of times.
Now let's pause it here first and foremost. He explains something really, really key here. He talks about how this situation when this is not the first time he's sensed that Chelsea done it. And he has mentioned this on previous episode. I think it was either 8 or 7 when he mentions this aspect of Chelsea where she can go at him, right? And be confrontational. I don't think he deals with confrontation very well. I'm not even going to say that she's necessarily a very confrontational person per se, but she definitely is, as she said herself, direct in that instance. But I believe that Kwame also is a very sensitive person. Okay, so words, energy, tone, they all affect him, and so. Even, I think when we saw a little bit of this on episode 8, I believe, where they were sitting on a couch on opposite ends, and they were going to talk to her dad later on. You saw his energy completely shift because of the fact that she told him about her dad might not be so open and so open and so ready to meet him, because there's a fear of rejection there. So that was really interesting to see how his energy shifted in that sarcastic tone and the laugh. Yeah. And the sarcastic laugh that he comes along with it, and the distance they had on the couch, they're on opposite ends, right? But let's listen a bit more, and let's go to
I'm trying to do the good thing, and then all of a sudden it feels like I'm the bad guy, or I'm the one who screwed up her morning, and it was just hard.
Okay.
Okay, so I take it back. Our hands up. I'll take it back. I don't think he said bad person. I think he said bad guy. In this sense, right? He said the bad guy. So maybe I've read a bit too much into that and added my own 2 penny pence to that. So let me put that there at least. I still do think, just by the way that he's sensitive in terms of even saying bad guy, in that instance, I'm a very sensitive person too, right? Some people might say because of cancer. I'm a Cancerian star sign. Some people say because of personality type. My personality type is I can't remember now. Something like ENFP. I think it's ENFP. We are very sensitive in terms of energy, tone, dictation, language. Like, we are very intuitive, and we're in tune. And so we pick up these things and we notice the subtle fluctuations, and we get hurt easy because we wear our hearts on our sleeve, but we get hurt easy because we're constantly reflecting and listening and learning and kind of taking in energy. And so as you're doing that, you start to become very sensitive to any minute changes in the atmosphere with that person. I think that's what he's picking up there. Right, I think that's what he's picking up in that sense, that the minute changes that he gets from Chelsea, and so that's why he's explaining the story. Let's just listen a bit more.
Good.
I think I might have one more.
Okay, go ahead. Do you think
it can possibly get any hotter in here?
So this is before it gets to the point where they begin to argue about, have a conversation about the situation, right? And let me be frank with you. I also think as well, what we're seeing is also the culmination of her being a second choice, not his first choice. Right. I think there's also a big thing as well that it's culminating in the fact that that's not his first choice. Chelsea is his second choice. And so that also the irritation that he feels as well and the hurt that he feels is like, again, I like feeling like a bad guy in a sense because I asked you how you feel. I do feel like also the aspect of him choosing her second does play a part in some of the irritation and the sarcasm and the, I'm sacrificing everything for you and making those kind of general comments as well. So I think that plays a part too. I don't want to dismiss that, but I think that's a different thing we can talk about maybe on another video, not necessarily this part here. There's that sarcastic laugh again. Ah, yeah. He does that quite a bit in terms of when he's talking with Chelsea, when he's hurt. He did that on the couch. He's done that a few times I've seen in the shows. When he gets hurt, that's his go-to. The sarcasm kind of laugh and to almost play it off when his mum didn't want to have a conversation too tough. That same laugh and chuckle, nervous kind of energy laugh. He did that on the couch in episode 7, I think, as well, or 7 or 8 or 7 or whatever, when he spoke with his mum. Same kind of energy again. So he has a way of coping with these things in this instance. Let me just watch a little bit more of this and then we'll go further in the clippage. So he talks about obviously being in her space and it feeling like, it's too much in a sense, right? He's not got a time to think for himself, to be able to come to his own kind of his own free space of thinking and being able to be stress free, right? And be in a place where he can recuperate and recover. And so I want to tap into that little bit of that argument quickly. I don't want to go I don't want this thing to go too long, this review. I want to keep it nice and short because I'm going to change the title of this review. We're going to talk about his particular responses to her. Now, what was really interesting, I think, and I want to find a clip for you guys, is and to what he's responding to about her behavior. This is the most interesting clip. And then there's another one after this, and I'll play it in terms of the energy. Let's just have a look at this. Now, she was not joking. Okay, she was not joking. And instead of actually just when he said, "Oh, that's a tough look," and if you saw her face, and if I freeze frame it, she wasn't joking, right? Oh, that's a tough look. What she wanted to hear was, "Oh, you're so beautiful," right? That's what she wanted to hear. That's why she mentioned it. That's why she joked about it. That's what she actually wanted to hear. And when he said that's a tough look, she felt like he was being dismissive of her. He wasn't. He was genuinely saying that's a tough look. You know what I mean? Like I understand the slang. You know what I'm saying? But she was almost ready to go to war again. Almost. And I think she dialed it back and just pulled it back a little bit. But she was almost like she's ready to go to war again over this particular comment. Now, what's interesting again, like I said, is a little bit later on when they address the conversation. I think this part here is a key part, and this my part we'll end on, and we'll do a part 2 because, like I said, I don't want it to run on too long for you guys. I want to keep it nice and short so you can digest stuff. This particular comment by Chelsea is what Kwame is facing, but it's what he's dealing with, I think, on a regular basis. And I think he's starting to see this might be a little bit difficult than I thought it would be. I'm not saying they ain't going to make it to the altar. I think they will, but he's going to regret making it to the altar. I'm going to tell you that for ciao. Okay, here we go. It was so interesting. He brought up a point here about, look, this morning, etc., etc. I said what I said. You then obviously kind of snapped a little bit, saying, well, do I look okay? She couldn't even remember the conversation. you know, and that's why I said I think he's definitely a little bit sensitive. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm saying I definitely think he's more sensitive, because the lasting impression of that pain is being shown now. He's telling her about it, so it lasted longer for him than it did for her. And so then she says a critical thing here. Well, if you throw me underneath the bus, I'm gonna throw you underneath the bus. So how she interpreted him explaining how he felt in that moment, right? Because it was a critique of her, was an instant, if you go and throw me underneath the bus, I'm gonna throw you underneath the bus, right? And this is where we're gonna park the bus, okay, for part one, because I want to drop part two. I really didn't think I was gonna go so deep into Kwame. And like I said, I will happily rescind what I'm saying about Kwame, because a part of it, but I definitely still do believe in what I'm saying when he didn't say bad person, but he said bad guy. I think that's in the same bracket, but not necessarily exactly the same. So we can give him, there may be a pardon there, but I definitely feel he's very sensitive, and it's due to some of the things that he suffered in his childhood, and you know, and also his sensitivity. So yeah, we're gonna break down part two. We're gonna talk about Chelsea's passive aggressive behaviors. And we're going to break it all the way down as well for you guys. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notification of the uploads. We appreciate you guys. Locked and loaded. We'll see you again very soon.
Black, you know what time it is.